So it's 2021, quarantine is still a thing, kinda at least, hardly, and despite many things slowly opening back up since the beginning of the year, we've only just started getting a few new game announcements, releases, and updates. A couple of months ago, the only big releases were the launch titles for the new gen consoles, and of course, the other one we shall not talk about. For God's sake, I'm begging you, please don't play that game. Even so, there aren't many out, and you could pretty easily breeze through the ones that are, save for maybe Scarlet Nexus. But regardless, that's not to say that there aren't any good games out for you to get your hands on and hop in the action. If you're anything like me right now and you're lacking a good game to play, even though I'm not because I'm just draining all my time into platinuming Nier Automata, then look no further, because in today's vid I'm going to recommend you guys what I think is a really good game, especially if you're into open world RPGs with really good character customization, or even Monster Hunter-esque games. Also, I'm gonna assume if you're watching me, you're also an anime fan, or just generally if you play games, you also like anime. And if that's the case, yet another reason you should play this game, which I'll get into in just a sec. That said, let's go ahead and get into the reasons why you should play God Eater 3. The story of God Eater 3 is as good a place as any to start off and explain why you should play the game. It's filled with really good moments, memorable characters, and interesting developments. I won't say it's one of the most incredible stories you could come across in the game, but it's definitely a decent level above average, and each scene and development had me hooked, questioning what would come next. One by one, the cast is introduced with all sorts of lore and mystery behind them, which is eventually explored later on in the game. With all these different aspects of the game, in addition to you being able to create your own character who plays many key roles in the story, it's incredibly easy to immerse yourself in everything that's going on. By the way, it's a standalone game, so if you're worried you won't understand what's going on, it'll be fine. There are one or two recurring characters from prior games, but they play less of a personal role here than in their own story. Also, to go back to what I mentioned at the start of the vid, if you're into anime at all, then you'll definitely be interested in this game. Don't know how many of you have heard of the game called Vein, but to compare how it's typically called the anime Dark Souls, God Eater 3 would be the anime Monster Hunter, so to speak. I kid you not, I felt like I was playing an anime with myself as the main character. The further you progress and the bigger your reputation as the main character gets, the more of this absolute power you start to be known as throughout this world. Sort of like a Satoru Gojo strongest of the verse Deus Ex Machina type beat. Actually, maybe not, because I did some research and there might actually be more powerful characters, but don't get it twisted, you're still really freaking powerful. Definitely top 5 if not top 10 in the verse. The game also has extra DLC, so if you are enjoying it and ended up beating it, there are a few extra new story missions. I haven't gotten around to playing them myself, but I believe they're about the different characters. And if all that wasn't enough, the entire game is complemented by one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in a game. I feel as if I could sit in the hub area for hours just listening to it, and from the action to the cutscenes, they really know where to place the different soundtracks for better emotional effect. The game also has a literal anime opening every time you start it up, which is also pretty catchy, so yeah, I'll let you be the judge of whether or not the story alone interests you. Now, the gameplay of God Eater 3 is pretty solid and actually makes for a really fun experience. From the beginning, you're greeted with a fairly in-depth character customization, which only expands even more later on with all sorts of different outfits and accessories to match your taste. From there, you get to the meat and potatoes of what is most essential for your character. That is, if you don't believe that power is temporary and drip is forever, of course. But anyways, you can customize your character's weapons, movesets, items, and skills, which ultimately and drastically changes your playstyle. It truly makes all the difference to go from having unparalleled strength by swinging around the more heavy weapons like the Buster Blade or the Boost Hammer, to having faster than lightning speed with the Biting Edge and the Charged Spear. There's also the Variant Scythe and a personal favorite, the Heavy Moon, which are both great if you're into unorthodox fighting and being a combo master. And finally, there's the basic short and long blades, which should be pretty self-explanatory in my opinion, you know. Big sword strong, small sword fast. By the way, all of these weapons have the ability to turn into one of 4 guns. Yes, you heard right, they can turn into guns. Particularly a ray gun, a shotgun, a sniper, and an assault gun based on your preference, of course. You can make special bullets for these guns, from all sorts of elemental ones to healing bullets. It's also possible to customize the teammates that you play alongside with during the story, and of course you can play online going on missions with other players, which is really fun. There are tons of other combat features, but for the sake of not dragging things on too long, I'll leave it at that. Just know if you do intend on playing it from what I've said so far, you'll be more than capable of discovering on your own what I didn't dive into here. All in all, I don't really have any qualms about the gameplay, but if there's any one thing that does bug me, it's probably the movement. Not in general, so you don't have to worry about that. Overall, it's actually pretty good. But within the maps, there are these materials you can pick up off the floor, and unless you're completely still, you kind of can't. Like, you can't just run past and press the pickup button, you actually basically have to come to a complete stop from what I've experienced. But it's not really all that big of a deal, and I do believe you'll still have fun playing the game with everything else there is to experience. When it comes to enjoyment of the game, personally I had a blast with it, though I do understand not everything is for everyone, so it didn't surprise me when I saw people saying it wasn't all that great to them. At least that's what I thought I saw until I went to do my research for this video again and couldn't find nearly as many people saying it was bad as those saying it was good. It took a second, but then it hit me that they were probably just comments from forums that are somewhere deep on the internet from people that have stuck with the series for a while and didn't like some of the new changes, knowing that I'd say the positive reception is more credible than the couple of problems that a handful of people had with the series personally. So God Eater 3. It's a good game with a good story and good gameplay. It also has generally good reception, and you could pick it up for a pretty good price, by the way. I picked it up almost a year ago at GameStop for $15, and it should be around the same price on Steam if you're a PC player. Do not get it from the PlayStation Store unless you're that desperate for a game, I guess, because it's still full price there. Don't know what the Xbox Store price looks like, but you can go ahead and check it out if you want. But anyways, if you like the vid, go ahead and toss a like and comment to let me know if you plan on checking God Eater 3 out, or check it out first and come back to let me know what you thought. Either way, as always, this has been Tensa. Stay easy, guys.